My name's Jack. If we haven't officially met, I'm the lead pastor here. We are so glad you guys joined us this morning. And if this is your first time, I know that can be a little scary going to a new environment. And so if there's anything that we can do for you or my staff, please let us know. We'd love to meet you and answer any questions that you might have. Well, today we are, as Wendy alluded to, going to finish up Mark. We've been in this, I think, since January. And there is still a little chicken left on the bone. I know some of you guys are going, wait, we're finishing a little bit early, but I just think it's time. And next week, we're going to kick off a new series about making great choices. So you're not going to want to miss that. Well, today, I've titled my talk, The Forever Factor. The Forever Factor. And I've kind of got a long introduction before we get into the actual Mark. But when you think about the word forever, what does that mean, forever? You know, I mean, we use it a lot. It's eternity, it's always, it's never ending, it's infinite time, time without beginning or end. I mean, forever is kind of a deep concept. How many of you had a grandmother or mother who said, you know, don't make faces at your sister, your face might stay like that forever? Right? That you could get stuck. Your face could get stuck like that forever. There are some who believe that everything we do, every word we say, every choice we make, every good deed, every ugly face are forever resounding through time and space. They're just out there. Like when you throw a stone into a calm mountain lake and the ripples just go out to all parts of the lake. The good stuff, the bad stuff, the ugly stuff, our actions and words are forever written on the fabric of time. And Hollywood has made a lot of money, haven't they, on this concept? Movies like Back to the Future, and one of the original Supermans, you remember where Superman, he went around the earth really fast so he could turn time back. The earth stopped and then it started going backwards. Minority Report, I really liked that one. How about this one, It's a Wonderful Life with Jimmy Stewart? I mean, that's a classic. What would you do if you could go to the future? Or what would you tell your 16-year-old self if you could travel back in time? Don't go on that date, you know. Don't do that, whatever. Don't buy that car. I don't know. It's quite interesting to think about. Time travel, back and forth, the future, the forever factor. I believe that if we can learn to factor in forever into our choices, into our decisions, we can actually make a difference in time and leave a legacy like that stone. Paul said in 2 Corinthians 4, he said, so we fix our eyes not on what is seen, but on what is unseen. For what is seen is temporary. But what is unseen is eternal or forever. So we focus on what we don't see because that's the stuff that really matters and that lasts forever. And there are things in life that seem so important to us. Maybe when you're 16, that today, when you're older, they don't matter at all, do they? So we're going to go through a little exercise. We're going to put on our Forever Factor glasses. Each of you has an imaginary pair sitting in your seat next to you. Trust me, they're there. You can't see them. I've got my Forever Factor glasses. So what I want you to do is slip these on. And with these glasses on, you can kind of go through time and go back in time. And I'm going to ask you a series of questions while you're wearing your glasses. So go ahead and slip on your glasses and close your eyes. Okay? Put mine on. Are you ready? Okay, you got your imaginary glasses on, Forever Factor glasses. You've got your eyes closed. So let's start at 3 years old. Let's go back to 3 years old for all of you. What's important at 3 years old? Naps? Candy? McDonald's Happy Meals? I think McDonald's might be forever. Puppies, right? Playing, your friends. Okay, let's jump to 16 years old. What's important? What matters? What matters to you at 16? Cars, your friends, summer vacation, girls, boys, clothes, your cell phone, texting. For some of you, sports, your freedom, your space, a driver's license because that means freedom. What's important at 16? Teaching your parents the things that they somehow missed in their education. Right? 21. Let's go to 21 with your Forever Factor glasses. What's important in 21? Maybe college, a job, a career, finding Mr. or Mrs. Right, staying up all night. What's up with that one? That is so overrated. I remember wanted to stay up all night, and then you do it, and you're like, you pay for that for like 3 days. There's nothing going on all night. What's important at 21? Having fun before you're really old when you turn 25? How about 30? 30 years old. You got kids everywhere. You work all the time. There never seems to be enough money. A nap would be nice, but there's no time for a nap. You worry about education. Should we homeschool, public school, private school? Will soccer ever end? How much life insurance do I need? Why is my hair falling out? Am I in the right career? Should I make a change before I'm too old? Let's jump to 50. The kids have moved out, but they still need you to send money. You begin to realize that you probably can't really retire at 65. And you just saw Star Wars Episode 16, and it seemed a lot like the first one. Let's jump to 65. Your body doesn't respond as well as it used to. You need an extra day to recover from yard work. Just got a letter from the IRS, from the government, stating that Social Security probably is going to run out. Naps are very important again. You go to your high school reunion only to find that there are about 3 of you left. How about 80? 80 years old, congratulations. You beat the odds. 80 years old. Most of your friends are gone. The great-grandchildren come to visit, and you tell them how you had to walk uphill to school both ways in the snow barefoot. You share with them how the TVs didn't have remotes. You had to physically go turn a channel on them, and all the bad stuff when you were younger. How about 90? 90 years old. Smells like a rest home, doesn't it? People come to visit, they say they're related to you, but you're not quite sure. The Christmas singers, weren't they just here last week? And they keep bringing you these cookies that you can't eat. You don't need to brush your teeth anymore. You just put them over in a little jar. They're self-cleaning. 90 years old. Well, let's jump way ahead. Let's go to 200 years old. 200 with your Forever Factor glasses. 200. Now what are you doing? What are you doing at 200 years old? You look pretty dead from here. I know what you're thinking. Science will have prolonged life somehow, and I'll be skiing in Vail with the 24-year-old body. Probably not. Nope, you're just plain dead. In 200 years, everyone in this room will be gone. I don't like it. I'm sorry. It's just the way it is. But what's important? That car you had to have at 16? Not very important, is it? The house, gone. The diploma, just a piece of paper. That big promotion at work that you worked so hard for, history. All that money, worthless. All that gold, gone. In 200 years, none of you will be worried about your 401k. It just won't matter. That's what the forever factor glasses do for us. They bring things into perspective. I did a Google search. You can take your glasses off now. As of June 3rd, that was just last week, the oldest known living person is Kane Tanaka of Japan, who's 116 years old and 152 days. When you're 116, you count the days. No one makes it to 200. Delmar Schwartz, an American poet, wrote, "Time is the school in which we learn, and time is the fire in which we burn." And the second part of that statement I find very true. And so how will we live? What will we do with our time? Will we factor forever into the equation? In our text today, Jesus prophesies. He tells the future, a revelation. These are Bible words, prophecy, revelation. They simply mean that when God reveals something to man that man could not know on his own. And that's what we see in our text today. So Mark chapter 13, let's jump in. Verse 1, as Jesus was leaving the temple, one of his disciples said to him, "Look, teacher, what massive stones, what magnificent buildings." They're looking at the temple. It's beautiful. It's an amazing piece of architecture. It's huge. You can't miss it. This isn't the one that Solomon built. That was destroyed in the 7th century, but it was built by Ezra after the exile. And then Herod the Great had come in and added to it. Not because he cared much about God or anything, but he just wanted to look impressive. And so the temple was impressive. Some historians believe that some of the columns were like 45 plus feet tall. Just an amazing thing. I remember the first time I saw a skyscraper. I grew up in Grand Junction. No skyscrapers over there. And we went to the big city. And I just remember just doing this as a little kid going, how do they do that? It's so tall. I can't even see the top of it. And so the disciples are impressed by the temple, and look at Jesus' response. He says, "Do you see these great buildings? Not one stone will be left on another. Every one of them will be thrown down." And the theme is that what is now impressive, when you fast forward to the future, is not. What was once impressive is no longer. When I was in college, I had a 28-inch waist, and I was fast. I played outfield. I could catch balls that shouldn't be caught. Today at 51, the waist is bigger, and I'm very slow. What was once impressive, not so much today. As Jesus was sitting on the Mount of Olives opposite the temple, Peter, James, John, and Andrew asked him privately, "Tell us when all these things will happen, and what will be a sign that they are about to be fulfilled?" Jesus said to them, "Watch out that no one deceives you. Many will come in my name claiming I am he and will deceive many. When you hear of wars and rumors of wars," does that sound familiar? He says, "Don't be alarmed. Such things must happen, but the end is still to come. Nation will rise against nation and kingdom against kingdom. There will be earthquakes in various places and famines. These are the beginning of birth pains." So Jesus is saying, look, there's going to be pain. Before my kingdom is fully ushered in, there's going to be pain. There are going to be distractions. There are going to be people that say they're me, but they're not. And you need to hang in there. Some of you remember the bodybuilder t-shirts. What did they say? They had a little phrase. No pain, no gain, right? They knew. They knew something. If we don't break down our muscles and rebuild them, which is painful, we're not going to get any bigger. And Jesus is making these statements 1 week before he goes to the cross. He knows the kind of suffering he's about to go through. And he tells the disciples, look, there's going to be pain. There's going to be a lot of it. You must be on your guard. You will be handed over to local councils and flogged in the synagogues on account of me. You will stand before governors and kings as witnesses to them. And the gospel must first be preached to all nations. Whenever you are arrested and brought to trial, do not worry beforehand about what to say. Just say whatever is given at you at the time. For this, it is not you speaking, but the Holy Spirit. And he says, look, the Holy Spirit will come in those moments when you're witnessing about me and you don't know what to say. It's the same way for us. People will ask you about your faith, and you can lean on the Holy Spirit to give you the words to respond. Brother will betray brother to death, and a father his child. Children will rebel against their parents and have them put to death. In those days, if you left the Jewish faith to become a follower of Jesus, you could be killed. Your kids could turn you in. Dad's lost it. We're turning him in. And you could be killed. It's still like that in some parts of the world. Verse 14, when you see the abomination that causes desolation standing where it does not belong, let the reader understand. Then let those who are in Judea flee to the mountains. Let no one on the housetop go down or enter the house to take anything. Let no one in the field go back to get their cloak. How dreadful it will be in those days for pregnant women and nursing mothers. Pray that this will not take place in the winter, because those will be days of distress, unequal from the beginning when God created the world until now, never to be equaled again. Verse 20, if the Lord had not cut short these days, no one would survive. But for the sake of the elect, and this word elect used to only refer to the chosen people, to the Jewish people, but now the context is anyone who is a follower of Jesus. The elect, whom he has chosen, he has shortened them. At that time, if anyone says to you, look, here's the Messiah, or look, there he is, do not believe it. For false messiahs, false prophets will appear and perform signs and wonders and deceive, if possible, even the elect. So be on your guard. I have told you everything ahead of time. But in those days following that distress, the sun will be darkened, the moon will not give its light, the stars will fall from the sky, and the heavenly bodies will be shaken. At that time, people will see the Son of Man coming in the clouds with great power and glory. There's going to be a lot of people that they say they're me. But when I come back, you won't miss it. When I come back, you won't miss it. There's going to be a lot going on. He will send his angels and gather his elect from the four winds, from the ends of the earth to the ends of the heavens. And in the first part of this context, most scholars agree that he's talking about the destruction of Jerusalem in 70 AD, the destruction of the temple, which was pretty close. And now he's kind of shifted into the second coming. Now, there's a lot of people trying to unpack this and figure it out. But I think the key is that Jesus says you need to be ready. And we're going to see, he's going to say, none of us know when it's going to happen. I kind of think of it like this. When Jesus is prophesying, it's like when we look at those mountain peaks out there, the big, beautiful right now with the snow on them. And from whatever perspective you're at, they look like they're all really close together, don't they? Kind of stacked together. But if you get up there and you stand on top of Longs and you're going to hike over to Meeker, there's a lot of distance between there, isn't there? I don't know if any of you have done that. I haven't, but there's a lot of distance. But it doesn't look like it's so much from here. And so as Jesus prophesies, some of these things, there's a lot of distance. Some of it's right around the corner. But it's all kind of mixed in there. And it gets a little confusing. So let me go on, and then we'll wrap this up. Truly I tell you, this generation will certainly not pass away until all these things have happened. Heaven and earth will pass away, but my words will never pass away. That statement right there, my words will never pass away, that's a forever factor statement. You want to know what matters in 200 years? You want to know what's important? It's God. It's Jesus. His love. His truth. His words. Those are the things that last forever. How you treat your neighbor. Those are the things that last forever. What you do in those situations. Those are the things that ripple throughout time and space. Heaven and earth will pass away, but my words will never pass away. But about the day or the hour, no one knows. Not even the angels in heaven, nor the Son, but only the Father. Jesus is saying, look, I don't even know when this is going to happen. Only the Father knows. And so many people spend so much time and energy trying to figure this out. And I think Jesus is saying it's not important. You know, people say, are you post-trib, pre-trib, mid-trib? I'm pan-trib. Pan-trib, it's going to pan out. And that's what Jesus is saying here. He's like, don't get all caught up in this. But be ready. Be ready. You don't have to figure it out. I don't even know, he says. He says, and then he says it's like a man going away. He leaves his house and puts his servants in charge, each with their assigned tasks, and tells the one at the door to keep watch. Therefore, keep watch, because you do not know when the owner of the house will come back, whether it's in the evening, midnight, in the morning. If he comes suddenly, do not let him find you sleeping. Do not let him find you sleeping. What I say to you, I say to everyone, watch. Watch. And then we're going to jump to 14, and then I'm just going to wrap up some of what we just looked at. 14:1, now the Passover and the festival of unleavened bread were only 2 days away, and the chief priests and the teachers of the law were scheming to arrest Jesus secretly and kill him. But not during the festival, they said, or the people may riot. So for these festivals, scholars think that Jerusalem swelled from about 50,000 people to 250,000 people. And the last thing you wanted was Rome upset because you caused a riot. And so they're like, Jesus has gotten really popular. He's famous. Let's find a way to kill him, and let's do it in secret. And they have their own kind of agenda, but God has a different agenda about when all this is going to take place. While he was in Bethany, reclining at the table in the home of Simon the leper. Now, I don't think Simon still was a leper. I'm sure Jesus had healed him, but I think the name kind of stuck, right? Sometimes that happens. Maybe it was to distinguish him from Simon the Zealot and Simon Peter, right? I don't know. But, so Simon the leper, a woman came with an alabaster jar of very expensive perfume made of pure nard. She broke the jar and poured the perfume on his head. Some of those present were saying indignantly to one another, why this waste of perfume? Why waste this? It could have been sold for more than a year's wage, and that money given to the poor. And they rebuked her harshly. So a year's wage, average right now in America, I think it's about $60,000. That's some expensive perfume. $60,000 right there, wasted. John's gospel tells us that actually the person that was complaining the most was Judas, and it was basically because he was a crook and he just wanted the money. He didn't really care about the poor. And so what this lady's doing, what Mary's doing is just, it's extravagant. But from the outside, it looks like waste. They're thinking, you're crazy. What are you doing? And some of you, when you're extravagant when it comes to your faith, and you're extravagant when it comes to following Jesus, people who don't understand say, you do what on Sundays? Like you could be mountain biking. You give your money, what? You help the poor? Like, they don't get it. It's like, you're crazy. You give your time and you serve in kids ministry. You know, you take your vacation time and waste it on a ministry trip? That's nuts. That's crazy. And that's what's happening here. And look what Jesus does. Verse 6, he says, leave her alone. Leave her alone. Why are you bothering her? She's done a beautiful thing to me. The poor you will always have with you, and you can help them anytime you want, but you will not always have me. She did what she could. She poured perfume on my body beforehand to prepare me for burial. Truly, I tell you, wherever the gospel is preached throughout the world, what she has done will also be told in memory of her. Who are we talking about 2,000 years later today in Windsor, Colorado? This lady. And we're gleaning insight from these actions. Because what she did, she factored in forever. It didn't make sense at the time. It looked like a waste. But it's forever rippling through time and space. Verse 10, then Judas Iscariot, one of the 12, went to the chief priests to betray Jesus to them. They were delighted to hear this and promised to give him money. So he watched for an opportunity to hand him over. And that was the beginning of the end. So just a few takeaways. First of all, is Jesus calling? I thought I heard a phone. The sign that Jesus comes back will be a cell phone ringing. That's how it'll start. I'm skipping a couple things here. So, takeaways. What is now impressive, in the end, in the future, probably won't be so much. What's so impressive in our world right now, in enough time, it won't matter. The second one is factor in forever. Factor forever into every equation, every decision, every choice, what you're doing with your life. The third is to keep watch and stay awake. Keep watch and stay awake. Live as if Jesus were returning tomorrow. We don't know. There's a warning for us in verse 36, and it's to stay awake. Stay awake. Don't fall asleep. Don't lose your edge. Don't get complacent. Keep watch. Eyes wide open. Be alert. Be ready. Be on guard. Spiritually speaking, stay awake. You know, in the military, if you're on watch and you fall asleep, bad things happen. You get in a lot of trouble, for one, and you get people killed. Stay on watch. Keep watch. I'm reminded of the words of Paul when he said, don't become weary in doing good. Don't become sleepy when it comes to doing good. Satan would love to lull us to sleep. A lullaby of lies. And so my question to you, church, are you awake? Are you awake? Are you doing your assignment? Are you at your post? He makes reference to a house, and everyone in the house has an assignment. Something they're doing for the kingdom. What will Jesus find you doing when he returns? Each of you has something to do for the kingdom. And it starts with a heart posture. It starts with a servant's heart. And asking God to show you, what is it? What am I supposed to do? What are the things that I need to do that matter, that cause ripples in time, that last and affect forever, that impact forever? And when you're on assignment, there is nothing better. There is nothing better when you're fulfilling that purpose. Sometimes it seems small and insignificant, but it has major implications in time and history. Next question is, what are you wasting your life on? What are you wasting your life on? We're all wasting our life on something, if we can just be honest. What are you wasting your life on? Are you willing to waste the expensive parts on Jesus? I have a nephew, his name's Ben. And he, ever since he was I think, left high school, he went and worked at an orphanage in Belize. There's about, 70, 80 kids at this orphanage. And he got married there. He met his wife there. And they just had their first baby last year. And some people in their family, told them, look, you got to get serious about life now. You got a baby. You can't be wasting your life at this orphanage down in Belize. You got to get serious now. It's like time to grow up. And he and his wife pulled Winnie and I aside at Christmas and just said, what do you do with that? We still feel called to be here and to work at this orphanage. And I told him old orders are standing orders. I mean, if God hasn't called you to something else, keep wasting your life. Go for it. What are you wasting your life on? And when you are wasting your life, the critics will show up, won't they? Just like they did with Mary. They'll show up. And when the critics are yelling, here's what you need to listen for. You need to listen for the words of Jesus. What did he say to Mary? What did he say? He said, leave her alone. Leave her alone. Leave him alone. Leave them alone. What they are doing is a good thing. What they are doing has eternal, forever implications. So as I close and wrap up, 2 thoughts. For some of you, today might be the day that you need to wake up. You've been sleepwalking through life spiritually. Wake up. You're paying bills. You're consuming stuff. You're eating food. And you do that day after day, week after week, year after year. But none of it really matters in 200 years. Find the stuff that matters and wake up. And for those of you who are awake, you need to fight to stay awake. You ever been on a long road trip and it's nighttime and everyone in the car's asleep? That's usually me driving. And you just start doing that. The nod. You got to wake up. You got to stay awake. You got to fight for your relationship with God. You got to fight to hear his voice through all the noise. You have to fight for your assignment and what he's called you to. You have to fight to learn from him. You have to fight to spend time with him. You need to fight to stay awake. In the face of all that's going on, for some of you, in the pain, in the wars and rumors of wars, all the nonsense that's going on politically and in our world, fight to stay awake.